the mosque now, and women who are on their menses, you see this picture there entering the mosque, that as long as they're not in the mosque building, they can be in there. Okay, so that area is fine. They even say Safa and Marwa, that area, that's not considered part of the mosque. So women on the menses can go in that area, but other than that, they're not. But you will find in your group women, even the menses, will end up going there. Okay, going to the mosque and everything. But the ruling is they're not supposed to. So we enter the mosque, and you'll probably go through the Abdul Aziz gate. I'm assuming, well, it depends what side you're coming from. I don't know, do you know where your hotel's what side is it on?
Is that the clock tower one?
Yes, you'll be coming off Abdul Aziz gate, which is that one there in the picture. And if you see that diagram, that picture just below, Abdul Aziz gate is probably the best one to come through because it leads you straight onto the black stone. I think you're all familiar with Abdul Aziz gate, aren't you?
Yeah.
So basically you're coming straight on. If you say, oh, I want to go through, what's it called, Safa, the gate of Safa, you're going to have to come back on yourself, which makes things really complicated for you. So I wouldn't try that. I think they're all open now, the gates. Before they were closed. The donut's been removed, hasn't it? I think, that structure around it. So you should have a lot of flexibility now. So you're going to go in, you enter without praying. It's recommended not to look up, and then you go and see the Kaaba and you look up and you supplicate and make takbir and tahleel. You say Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah. You make dua for yourself. First time of seeing it, it's recommended to make dua that your Hajj is accepted and all your worship is accepted and your prayers are accepted as you're here in Mecca. Okay. So you're going to stand up, and you're going to stand by the verandas, look up at the Kaaba, I'm assuming, and you make your dua, and just take that moment in. Okay, just sit there, realise that basically this is the connection. Like if you imagine, like the centre of an atom, the Kaaba being the centre of an atom, and it's all this pull around it, this for energy and force, and this is what's controlling everything. And just tune into yourself as you're looking at the Kaaba, and just take your time. Don't think of it like quickly. We've got to do this. Now we've got to do this. No, like a Japanese tourist, like just doing the next. Just take your time. It was funny because there was me. I was like, oh, and there's my wife sobbing her eyes out like for about 10 minutes, and I turn and say, come on, we got to do this. So if you are going to leave her to sob, then just make sure she's got some company with the other. Find another sobber with her. And so then you're going to initiate the Tawaf. And so you're going to need to be in a state of purity to do it. You need to, for men in their ihram, they're going to expose their right shoulder, so it's going to be underneath. Okay, the right shoulder's uncovered, the left is covered. And you're going to be looking for the green light. So you'll be coming towards it from Abdul Aziz Gate, you'll see it. And then when you hit the green light, that's when you're going to face it. So this is the only time you face it. And then you basically raise your hands. There's a difference of opinion about this. The Hanafi school is that you raise your hands, you say Allah, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, like you would in prayer. Now you're going to go Bismillah, Allahu Akbar 3 times, and then you initiate. Okay, you're into Tawaf. But the point is, as soon as the green light, that point, then you turn. So if you're scared that you're not going to be able to do that because of the crowds, just stay like this and do it like that. Okay. So that you've got your right from the black stone, you've got your your left facing it at all times. Okay. And so basically, what I like to focus on, obviously you're going from your left, so your heart's facing the Kaaba. It's recommended when you're doing Tawaf not to look at the Kaaba. You're supposed to look down and feel as if you're being pulled into sort of like an energetic field where you're falling in line with the rest of creation. So it's a sort of, you're more focusing on what you're doing now. The Tawaf, it said, whoever does a Tawaf, every footstep they raise, 10 sins are forgiven, 10 good deeds are written, 10 ranks are raised. So the significance of every step as you're doing it. Okay, so you want to be focusing on what you're doing in the Tawaf. Are you in equilibrium with that pull? And obviously the angels are making Tawaf in the heavens above, so you're falling in line in synchrony with them around this black mystery of the centre of the universe, which is really a reflection of your inner being, your centre of who you are. Is it recommended to read anything? There's people say different things. So some dislike Quran when reciting. They prefer dhikr. I think it doesn't really. What's useful? Those du'as in the book are useful because they enable you to keep track of which one you're on. But just generally, just making du'a, doing dhikr, and a sense of presence as you're doing it. That's the most important thing.
Check the dua can be in any language as well.
Oh yeah, that's a good question because like you can talk in Tawaf. Okay, it's considered like any. Obviously, it's disliked. It's slightly disliked to do, be taking selfies when you're going around the Tawaf. It's not supposed to be about you. It's about your relationship with God. So it should be. Nothing violates the Tawaf apart from breaking your wudu. Okay, and we'll speak about that. How do we deal with that? So expose your right shoulder, head for the green light. Oh, I forgot something. And a Tawaf is equivalent of freeing a slave. And what I like to say, the way I like to explain freeing a slave is like giving someone an opportunity for a life. Because if you think about it, freeing someone in the old days was you give them their freedom, you liberate them. So Hajj is about liberation it's about liberating yourself from slavery of your own desires. Also going around 7 times. I don't know if anyone's. Obviously, the Prophet also went through 7 heavens, and something I found interesting is in Hindu tradition they've got the 7 chakras, which is considered moving from one stage of awareness to a higher state. So the 7 is like the 7 stones, and the 7 going round. It's as if you're moving again. This concept of consciousness. You're moving from a higher circle of being, and so as you're doing this tawaf and you're moving closer in. You're being drawn to the divine pull. It's as if your consciousness is being attached to the divine consciousness and is expanding. So these help you give some sort of significance and relevance to what you're doing instead of just like skipping around and just getting things done. Use it as a time for introspection and like what because this concept of we're constantly trying to expand our consciousness and awareness and a death to a life. Like talking to the child moving from one stage. I think this is really apt and relevant for our times because that's really what we're trying to do as human beings. You make your intention, as I said before, 7 circuits of Tawaf of Umrah for God's sake. You make sure you say for Umrah. Raising your hands, we said that Bismillah. Kiss the black stone, obviously not possible. Stay as far away from it as possible. No more talbiyah, we said that. And men for the first 3 circuits are going to be doing the ramal. Okay, so this is definitely recommended. That's why the men should be far away from the centre because you can't do that if there's crowds. So you're basically doing that for 3 circuits. Okay, it's not necessary. So if you can't do it, don't think you've invalidated your tawaf. It's a sunnah to do it. It's highly recommended.
That's not running, right?
No, it's a march. It's like Pakistani army. So that's for the first 3. What's the significance of all of this? I don't know if you know when the Muslims came from Medina, the Quraysh mocked them because they said in Medina it was known for I don't know if it was malaria or anything, but there was an illness that people got hit with, and it weakened them who lived outside. So they would make jokes about the Muslims. They'd say these guys, look how weak they are. That's what you get for living in Medina. Medina's cursed. They would say something. So they wanted to prove a point to them. Look, we are strong. Okay. So it's showing your bare arm to the world, but it's covering up your left to God. So it's a sign that I cover myself and have all respect, but to the creation I show strength. Muslims, we're not people that are to be messed around with. Okay.
Take the plug out.
And then so you're going around, and here we've got a few significant things about the Kaaba. If you notice here, you'll see the black stone. Do you see that in the image? And so then you come around and you've got the multazam. The multazam actually is what's between the black stone and the door. So the multazam is recommended at the end of your tawaf to actually go up and press yourself against the Kaaba with your right cheek against it. But it's not actually underneath the door. It's between the black stone and the door. Okay. And that's a place where prayers are answered.
Oh, sorry, where is that?
That's between the black stone. It says number 6.
Number 6.
It says, I don't know what that means. I've never heard. That's actually the multazam. I don't know what that word means, Hadwin. Then we've got the door of the Kaaba, and then he's missed out one here. It's about 7 stones in. It's actually, it's probably not accurate here, but it's behind. You see, this is called the Shadh. I don't know if I pronounce it correctly. Shadhawan, I think it is. These are the bricks. Do you see these bricks at the bottom of the foundation of the Kaaba?
Number
Just-
2.
It's not marked the number. It's you know these bricks that are right underneath the foundation of the Kaaba. Those ones that are facing the Maqam of Ibrahim. It's about 7 stones from the Hatim. The Hatim being that semicircle, the horseshoe shape. From there, in about 7, there's a place called the Mi'jan. It's called the Mi'jan. Was a place where Ibrahim alayhi salam kept his tools when he was building the Kaaba, and it's also the place where after the Isra and Mi'raj, Sayyidina Jibreel led the Prophet in prayer, and so the Prophet prayed there. So it's considered a very special, honourable place there.
These stones are exposed, or
They're exposed. Yeah, so
Stones.
yeah. Now it's not there anymore, obviously, this area. But it was there used to be like a hole here, but obviously for health and safety purposes,
Okay.
that was removed. It's flattened, but that area is still there. That's a blessed place.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Shardawan, this is not going to be relevant to you guys, but because you won't be up that close. If you step on that, then it's you've got to obviously your tawaf. You have to come back off it for your tawaf to. You can imagine if you walk to, because some people what they do to get up to the black stone, they stand on them, don't they, to come along. But if you did that in a proper tawaf, it wouldn't be considered valid because you'd have to come back on yourself. So, but I can't see you guys doing that. I can see Shabana climbing up the side of the camp. Yeah. Okay. Then we come to the Hatim. So the Hatim, 3 meters in. 3 meters away from the walls of the Kaaba is considered the Kaaba, not the whole area. A lot of people think that whole area is as if you're praying in the Kaaba. That's not correct. It's about 3 meters. Okay, that's a place where prayers are answered. Obviously, you can't go in there if you're doing a tawaf. It would invalidate it. You'd have to come back on yourself if you wanted to continue tawaf. So don't go into the Hatim while you're doing a tawaf. Just do it afterwards or before. What were you doing? Yeah, Hatim obviously is a place where prayers are answered. Then you come round, and number 3, you've got the mizab, the chute, the guttering. That's just so water when it comes onto the roof can come off, but it's also considered underneath. That's considered a place where prayers are answered, and there are du'as still make there. But if you have your little Hajj book, it should be in there. Then you'll come round, and a place where a lot of people are ignorant of is the mustajar. The mustajar number 12. Do you see that? Mustajar is considered where the original door was, because the original Kaaba had entrances from both sides. So you go in and come out the other side. That mustajar is considered a place where prayers are answered, and it's recommended to actually press yourself up against it with your right cheek, which is possible actually. It's quite possible for people to do that. And so other than outside of a tawaf time, or especially a wajib tawaf you're doing on earth, you can do that. Then you come round and you come to 9, the Yemeni corner. What do you do at the Yemeni corner?
You acknowledge it, you say Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanatan.
Yeah, so when we say acknowledge it, there's a difference of opinion among the scholars about this, but in the Hanafi school, you only acknowledge it if you're going to touch it.
Okay.
So in the Shafi'is they acknowledge it. So you'll see some people doing that, but you're only supposed to touch it with your right hand.
Okay.
If you can't touch it with your right hand, then according to Imam Hanifi says you leave it. You don't kiss your hand afterwards. It's not like the black stone. So it's touching. This is a place where they say the angels are basically flock around it, and they're saying Ameen to all the people as they go around. And so that from the Yemeni corner up into the black stone, it's recommended to make that dua. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina
So if you
adhaban.
can't touch it, you shouldn't.
You just carry on.
Okay.
If you want to. I said this. It's a difference of opinion. It's not. Okay, and then we come back to the black stone, and that's one. And then you greet the black stone again, but not facing it, like this, basically. And then.
Is that where the green light
So,
is?
yeah.
On the same
Yeah.
stone? Okay.
So that's the way you can gauge where you are if you're too far away.
Okay.
And that's 7. That's your first circuit done. You're going to do 7 more, and then after you finish, let's make sure I've covered all the points. Yeah, be conscious of prayer times. So if you know a prayer time's coming up in 10-15 minutes, don't bother starting your tawaf. Especially for ladies, it's going to get very difficult because they push you back for the prayer. So if you come in and it's prayer's about to come in, just sit and wait for the prayer time, get your place.
Is the tawaf that you mentioned, is there anything further to do while you're doing tawaf?
Not at all.
It's all sunnah or not?
It's all sunnah. The only fard is to go round with your left side facing it.
That is fine.
That's the only thing. So if you missed out everything else,
You're
you're fine.
Okay.
That's the thing to be most conscious of. You need to break off because of prayer. You basically just make a note of where you stopped. Yeah. And then you can continue off from there. It doesn't have to be, you don't cancel out that tawaf, you can just go back to the place where you did before. Yeah.
So you feel like 6.5?
You can just
go back to where you were, do half and you're done.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think I've clarified the point that if you do end up at any point, because it's very easy to do this, is that you say, oh, where are you? That's a problem, because you've moved without your left, you know, so if you've done anything like that, just backtrack. That's all you need, if it's possible. If it's not possible, you're going to have to cancel that.
So the minute you move away and your right side is
your left side is not,
then it's invalidated.
It's not invalidated,
Okay.
it's that you're going to have to go back to that spot if possible. And
Okay.
so that's the difficulty. So
how do we break off if we need to go to pray?
So you're basically you'll make a mark of where you stopped.
Yeah.
You could use maybe the bricks at the bottom if you can see them, or you know, and then you'll go off, make wudu or pray whatever you're going to do, and then you make note of that, and then come back and start again from there.
There's no like etiquette of stopping.
No.
Okay.
No. Is that fine? Okay. So I think we've covered all of that. Next, so we've finished